Hello there. Today in this short documentary, I'll be talking about the history of home media, from the days with VHS to DVD, and nowadays with streaming with Netflix and Amazon Prime, Disney Plus and many other streaming services out there. I'll be talking to two different people about their experience with home media. I hope you enjoy.
Okay. My first memories with it is my parents actually bringing home a video recorder because we rented one, because back in those days you rented your TV as well. Because that way you'd rent it, and once upgraded you just rent another one. We used to rent our stuff back then. So my parents rented a Ferguson Video Store, which is a top loader. It's the one you see whenever someone goes back to the 80s and shows VHS, then it's always the one they show. But I'm really struggling to remember what we actually watched. I think for a long time we didn't have original, pre-recorded VHSs. That was because that's something you'd go out and you'd rent the VHS. So we'd go around to the local a video store, and even then there weren't a huge amount of video stores. We used to have a guy who'd come round in a van to rent out VHS. Thinking back now, I think a lot of them are probably copies. I mean, I do remember it because this is in the 80s where it's kind of video nasties coming out. I think some of the stuff you had there was potentially the slightly dodgy copies. I think parents did kind of get some things that were kind of causing those kind of meaty panics at the time, Exorcist and stuff like that. Stuff we see as classic now. But I'm really trying to remember the kind of films we watched on that, and really nothing is sticking. I just remember, that kind of watching something that was being on cinema and so on. Just being able to watch a film at home without waiting for it to be on TV was a real novelty.
Do you have any fond memories of VHS at all?
Loads.
Right.
My brother has autism, and he collects VHS tapes. Cool. So because we grew up with them personally, we had loads of them from our grandparents. My brother's fascinated with them, so he's never gone over VHS tapes. He still collects them to this day. But I remember watching loads of these compilation VHSs. So what children's TV shows would do is they would pull one good episode from each series, there was Super Ted.
I remember seeing some from SpongeBob, for example.
Yeah, sort of that. So they put a bunch of different shows, good episodes from them, put them in this compilation thing, and I watched that pretty much every day as a child.
I think I had the same experience as well, but with a DVD instead, because they had the same thing, but you can't record your own episodes. Do you think there's a comparison to VHS and vinyl nowadays, with vinyl being popular again? Do you think that will happen again?
No.
Why do you think that is? Because
vinyl is it's different. It's vintage, and it goes back further than VHS. I mean, of course, in a few years, the things will change. But vinyl is still something you can use to this day and have the exact same almost quality. So, I collect Beatles vinyls, and, I have a vinyl player, and it sounds just as good to me as it does on my Spotify. Yeah. So, if not better. So, it's the same quality of product. However, in a few years, we're probably going to have, 12K or something ridiculous, and then VHS...
8K at least.
Yeah, it's going to be something that just looks a lot worse visually, so the products aren't comparable.
Even though there are many negatives for VHS, like the quality, not being able to skip chapters and special features plus more, the main upside for it I can see now is the ability to record anything on the TV. For example, if you were out for the night and your favourite show was on and you wanted to watch it for later, you would have just recorded it. Although a downside of copying with VHS is over time, it will degrade a lot. This is also known as VHS generation loss. So if you've ever seen a VHS before and it has lost a lot of quality, it's probably been copied a lot. So that leads us on to our next part, the Laserdisc. Laserdisc is usually forgotten about nowadays. It was like a DVD and vinyl mixed together to create this huge disc called Laserdisc. It had the same qualities as a vinyl, and you had to flip it over each time, and the same qualities of a DVD. Another thing that it created was the special features, like interviews, deleted scenes, behind the scenes. The main problem was that you had to turn around the disc The reason was because there wasn't a lot of space. An example of this is the movie Jurassic Park. It came with 3 separate discs, turning it around each time at a certain point. There wasn't a lot in the 80s and early 90s when it came to huge competition. Philips did release something called the CDI, which only had 20 films coming out for it and was more of a game console than anything. But it was a stepping stone towards the DVD, which I'll be talking about now. Releasing in 1996 in Japan, and in the following year in the States, and in 1998 in Europe, the digital video disc, or DVD for short, was released alongside 15 films, and over time every movie on VHS would be on the DVD. Aside from a few, even in 2021, there's at least 100 movies or more that aren't on DVD, but they're mostly forgotten about. Probably the most well-known of these is the Godfather TV miniseries. That was a cut-down version of the Godfather films in chronological order, but was never released outside of VHS for whatever reason. It has only ever been shown once in HD on CBS in 2012. Anyway, the main selling point for DVD was better sound, better quality, better storage, and special features from Laserdisc. 4 years later, in 2000, the PlayStation 2 would come out, which was basically a DVD player, a music player, and a game console all in one. I believe DVD was also the main reason why the PS2 sold well. It had all these things going for it: video games, the ability to listen to music, and watching films all in one place. DVD sales peaked around the mid-2000s. Blu-ray was better quality, better audio. There was this small format war in the mid-2000s with HD DVD and Blu-ray.
There's also HD DVD.
Yeah,
that really short-lived format war.
Yeah, well, the kind of the Microsoft's version, I believe, in the same way as VHS was quite successful because of porn, and the ability to copy it seemed to kind of help it. We found a similar thing with, I think, a lot of porn companies deciding to use the Blu-ray system, and that meant HD DVD fell by the wayside.
Well, I kind of thought it was because also many companies just gave up on it years later, and also.
But you got to look at why they gave up on it. Although you got Sony, okay, and
Sony was Blu-ray.
But Sony also owned a major distribution company and also a lot of content. Whereas what content companies got behind Microsoft with their system.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've got that as a major issue as well.
And also HD DVD, they were just. I feel like wasn't it with Xbox you had to get a different DVD adapter for it?
Yeah, you did. It's an external box, so that really didn't help. There's a lot of things going against it. Yeah. It is very similar to the VHS Betamax wars, but with these extra things on, it was awkward. It looked ugly. Whereas PlayStation, just go straight in. There we go.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It doesn't need to it doesn't need to verify it, doesn't it?
No, well, I'm not sure about that. I can't remember. I didn't see those problems with it. It's the fact that it was just this external massive box sitting to one side of the Xbox. And it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I think we now should talk about streaming. In the present day, we have streaming services, which is basically the largest source of watching films or TV shows nowadays. But it all started out with Netflix renting out DVDs to people online. They soon thought, but what if we made it so we can just stream the films instead of renting them physically? And thus, the birth of the modern day streaming service was born. And also keep in mind that people wanted to stay away from cable TV and all that, so they chose Netflix instead, where they can just pay a monthly subscription to watch any show they want, instead of having to wait around whenever that show came on. I'd say it killed cable TV, nearly, but there are still shows that were watched on TV, like Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, Doctor Who.
Another question is, what do you think of the future of home media? Do you think it's going to advance any more than streaming?
See, I don't think people could have comprehended streaming 50 years ago. So I don't think I could comprehend what's...
Well, what do you think would be the next step, though? What will be after?
Oh, you see, now you're pushing it, because it's... Because that first step was training us to accept this into our homes. We don't need to go out and just, you can stay in your homes. And that's something that media's been moving towards for a long time. Remember when newspapers were first out?
Yeah.
You didn't get your individual copy of it. You went somewhere, and you went to a cafe and read the newspapers that were there for everyone to do. Same with music, you had it on the jukebox. This personal ownership of media evolved out of this. So now we're getting to this point where it's kind of, we have the cinema coming onto our rooms, and now we're getting, cinema even close to us. We've got this choice of absolutely anything. We don't need to go out and buy things. Someone mentions a film, I go and say, oh, which service is that on? Let's check Prime, let's check Netflix. It's all found it. Yeah, let's watch it. Whereas in the past it'd be kind of, well, let's go to, I don't know, HMV or whatever, and let's have a look through the collection they've got and see if we can find this film.
There are some times where I have to find it online. If there's no other option, I'd either rent it off YouTube or.
Yeah. Well, we've got the evolution. There's does the bloke in the van have it or not? Okay, does Blockbuster have it or not? Then does HMV have it or not? Can I buy it rather than just renting it? I suppose to a certain extent, the thing about streaming, what it has done quite effectively is I think it's reduced piracy.
So I hope you enjoyed the documentary. I hope it wasn't too confusing or too slow or too boring, and I hope it was informative enough so people can learn something from it. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.